My fellow Americans, tonight I want to speak with you about our nation's unprecedented response to the coronavirus outbreak that started in China and is now spreading throughout the world. Today, the World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic.
Players are going back to the locker rooms. Whoa.
So both head coaches have gone back, and you see the teams heading back to the locker room. The officials now going over to the scores table. And so it appears that we are going to wait for the announcement as the officials are giving it to the PA announcer Mario Nani here inside the arena.
Waiting for league confirmation to start the game.
Yeah,
The game tonight has been postponed. You are all safe. And take your time in leaving the arena tonight and do so in an orderly fashion. Thank you for coming out tonight. We are all safe. And you can visit OKCThunder.com for updates on upcoming games. Please drive home safely. And good night, fans.
Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ, and it is monster news. The NBA has suspended the season after Rudy Gobert has tested positive for coronavirus. Now, that's video from Monday at a press conference when Gobert was trying to joke around about the overreaction to the virus touching every mic and recorder in sight. And now he has contracted the coronavirus himself.
Literally seconds, Scott, before tip-off. Refs had the ball in their hands. All 10 players were on the court. The ball was about to go up, and the Thunder's head medical doctor, Donnie Strack, came sprinting out onto the court, called all three referees together, and told them something. And they all had a conference right there on the court for a matter of minutes. At that point, the referees then called both head coaches, Quinn Snyder, Billy Donovan, over, talked to them. There was players, Chris Paul came over, Joe Ingles came over, asking what's going on. Everybody's wondering what's going on. And then they eventually told all the players to go back to their locker rooms.
And that's where the hiatus will start. You can see right here the reaction from Mark Cuban when he got the news looking at his phone. And then he went and started to discuss it with members of the Mavericks organization on their bench.
He also alerted the officials that are in charge of this game.
Wow, I mean, just what a whirlwind. We went from possibly playing games with no fans to suddenly there being no NBA. And I think after the Rudy Gobert, Utah Jazz situation, the NBA really had no choice but to suspend the season. You can't have a player or team members who have been in contact with him out there playing NBA games and being around NBA personnel, even if there are no fans there.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to NeoUnrealist. You all saw that, right? Last night on Wednesday, March 11th, 2020, the Chinese coronavirus global pandemic became very real to many people who just, I don't know, I guess been cruising along, just really not giving a lot of thought. I think I'm going to just call this the night of the COVID celebs. Sadly, for a lot of the normies and many of our elites, you know, until the people who are bold-faced names in the newspaper gossip pages, you know, the blue check marks on Twitter, if you will, not until the people like Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson are announcing that they've tested positive for the Wuhan coronavirus, not until NBA players are revealed to be positive for the Chinese coronavirus and the NBA is suspending the rest of its season indefinitely, And it happens right before their eyes, whether they're at the game when they shut it down in real time or whether they were at home watching this pandemonium go on TV. No more pro basketball. Holy crap, it's Armageddon. And now you've got leagues like the Major League Soccer, the National Hockey League, and baseball either suspending or postponing their seasons. You know, when supermodel Naomi Campbell is spotted wearing a mask, gloves, and a hazmat suit walking through an airport, yeah, even the densest of normies, even people who don't pay attention to the news now are starting to go, what the hell's going on? I mean, look at her. She's as covered up as a woman living in pre-9/11 Afghanistan. I mean, do they make biohazard-rated burqas? Something to look into. Now, all of a sudden, the elite are concerned. Politicians who just a couple weeks ago weren't even talking about the Wuhan coronavirus are suddenly now experts. Did anyone hear any questions in the Democrat debates in February about the nascent pandemic? Anybody? Because if there were, they just must not have been that many. Because I probably watched more of those debates than most of you, and somehow they managed to elude my attention. Must have been like the way it was when Barack Obama, he just happened to miss church on any Sunday that his pastor, the Reverend Jeremiah Wright, anytime he bashed the United States or made racist comments, somehow Barack Obama wasn't there. Now, maybe that's how it was with the Democrat debates. I mean, maybe they were chock full of coronavirus questions in January and February. And maybe I just happened to be in the bathroom break or getting something out of the fridge every time it came up. As a matter of fact, let's remember back to those halcyon days of yore. Oh, just about, I don't know, a month and a half ago, 40 days ago, as a matter of fact, back when the estimable observer of the political zeitgeist, Sagar Enjeti, he was tweeting stuff like this beauty. This is exactly right. There is a bizarre PC attempt across media right now to minimize coronavirus and implicitly agitate against travel bans, quarantines, and other effective action. Anyone spreading such views should be treated with the same contempt and ridicule as anti-vaxxers. Now, why did Sagar Enjeti, why did he post that tweet? It was in response to this article in, of all places, Wired magazine, a magazine that you'd think would be devoted to sound science and policy. The article was titled, "We should de-escalate the war on the coronavirus. Fear, finger-pointing, and militaristic action against the virus are unproductive. We may be better off adjusting to a new normal of periodic outbreaks." I mean, this author, this Robert Dingwall, was basically preaching to stop ragging on China about people eating bats. Now, granted, at the time there was still uncertainty, and there really still is uncertainty, if the wildlife meat market in Wuhan was connected to the origin of the outbreak. The jury is mostly out, but I'd bet it's not the ultimate direct cause. He's more worried about the critique of Chinese food culture than in common sense measures to slow the spread of the Chinese coronavirus. This man was arguing against governments taking aggressive actions to mitigate the spread of the disease as unproductive. It was all too militaristic sounding to him. Now today, it's the Robert Dingwall types who, from a month and a half ago, who are shrieking about why isn't more being done? Oh, this is terrible. We've gone from these people calling people fearmongers and overreacting, the just a cold bro people, to complaining that multiple billions of dollars worth of action hasn't already been acted, and the most draconian measures that could be enacted in Western societies. Why hasn't this been done already? But look at them now. When you've got O.J. Simpson putting out tweets like this, yeah, O.J. went there. Can you believe this is the balls on this guy? We've reached peak 2020 when O.J. Simpson, of all people, is offering hot takes on the Chinese coronavirus pandemic. I mean, let's look at the absurdity of that went on last night. This guy who plays center for the National Basketball Association's Utah Jazz franchise, his name is Rudy Gobert. Gobert, I'm not even sure how you pronounce the name. He plays in the Western Conference. I don't follow it as closely. On Monday, this clown was touching the reporters' microphones, their recorders, every single one of them at the press conference he was at. Well, I guess the NBA had made it a rule that there had to be a certain amount of separation between the players and the media. Remember, the media had been banned from the locker room earlier in the week. So this chucklehead, for whatever reason, I'm not implying that he was being malicious. I don't think he was trying to deliberately infect the reporters. He was just being stupid. He thinks it would be funny to touch and contaminate all their personal items that are usually, remember, these are microphones and recorders. They're usually held up to right up to people's faces by the reporters when they're interviewing people. He was mocking the rules put in place due to the coronavirus. Now, well, stop the presses. 2 days later, Rudy Gobert tests positive for the Wuhan coronavirus, and all hell breaks loose.
Literally seconds, Scott, before tip-off. Refs had the ball in their hands. All 10 players were on the court. The ball was about to go up, and the Thunder's head medical doctor, Donnie Strack, came sprinting out onto the court, called all 3 referees together, and told them something.
So both head coaches have gone back, and you see the teams heading back to the locker room. The officials now going over to the scores table. And so it appears that we are going to wait for the announcement as the officials are giving it to the PA announcer, Mario Nani, here inside the arena.
Waiting for league confirmation to start the game.
So yeah, all that touching everybody's stuff to be funny, turns out it wasn't so funny after all, because already one of Gobert's teammates, he's tested positive for the Chinese coronavirus. And as you can imagine, the NBA, quite rightly, cannot run games where the players are infecting each other in the locker rooms or on the court. Remember, these guys are sweating a lot during the game. They're breathing really hard. They're pushing up on each other for 3 hours, basically. There's referees involved, coaching and training staff that have to be in a lot of close proximity and physical contact. Locker room workers, the guys who pick up and clean the uniforms. The security staff, the sports journalists that follow the teams. There's just way too much close contact, a lot of travel involved to have all this going on, even if they played the games in empty basketball arenas. Adrian Wojnarowski, this guy reports that inside sources informed him that Rudy Gobert, that he'd been careless in the locker room, touching other players and their belongings. So it wasn't just the reporters. Now, first of all, I don't know about you, but even in normal times, are you in a locker room touching other men when you're at the gym? Because it just sounds weird. I mean, I don't think I've ever been in a locker room where grown men were running around touching each other. But certainly not in the middle of a global pandemic. Touching other people and their personal items, you would think that'd be the last thing you'd want to do while dealing with the current Chinese coronavirus. So, public officials, they've been warning us, hey, don't shake hands, wash your hands constantly, maintain a minimum distance of 6 feet from other people where possible. And then this Rudy Gobert is going out of his way to touch other people and their personal possessions while they're in states of semi-nudity. This is beyond stupid. Now, I'm not saying to crucify Rudy Gobert, but, people saying that he shouldn't be publicly criticized for his action are nuts. I mean, anyway, I'm not going to say a lot more on this beyond this point. Mark Cuban. I found him curious last night. He's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks for what? It's going on 20 years now, isn't it? How is it that it looks like Mark Cuban was caught he was blindsided by this decision by the NBA to suspend its season? What, they didn't call him and give him a heads up? What's up with that? He only owns one of the teams. I mean, ultimately, the team owners are the ones who make the decisions for the NBA collectively. I'd like to know more about that because it looks to me like it sounded like he knew this was a possibility at some point, maybe, but he clearly didn't expect what happened last night. So, I don't know, stay tuned on that. That's all for this New Unrealist. If you want to help the channel, do me a favor. Hit like for this video. Leave a comment below. Mash down on the subscribe button if you're not already subbed to the channel. Click on the notification bell beside it. Put it on the all setting to keep up with newer content. If you want to contribute directly to the channel, toss your hard-earned dollars into the tip jar. Follow the links below to Patreon, Subscribestar, or PayPal. Or if you watch this on BitChute, you can just click on the green tip pledge button on the video player. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.